Hey, it's Alan Berg. Before we get into this episode, I'm starting something called Ask Me Anything. That's right. You submit your questions and they could become an entire episode or something that I answer at the end of an episode. To submit your questions, look for the red button at podcast.alanberg.com. That's right, podcast.alanberg.com. Click on the red button, submit your question, and maybe you'll hear it here on the podcast. Thanks. How do you go from the Peace Corps to 50 flowers? And what the heck am I talking about? Listen to my next guest and find out. Welcome to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Berg. I'm a speaker, author, sales trainer, website reviewer, and I help businesses like yours sell more, profit more, and have more fun doing it. Enjoy this episode. Hi, it's Alan Berg. Welcome back to another episode of the Wedding Business Solutions Podcast. I am so glad to finally have my friend Liza Roeser on to talk about your journey to where you are with 50 Flowers today. So welcome. Thank you for joining me.
You know, Alan, thank you for having me. And it has been decades, at least a decade since I've known you. And it's such a pleasure to be here today with you.
Yeah, it is more than a decade because I left the knot in 2011, so 13 years ago, and I knew you back then. So,
yep.
But I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a while, so we're finally making this happen here. So, give us a little bit of the journey, right? First of all, just tell us what 50 Flowers is, and then you tell us how you got there.
Perfect. 50 Flowers is the DIY flower experience. And we're an e-commerce store that sells wholesale flowers direct from the farm to your arms. So you can create your own flowers for events. Our specialty is do-it-yourself weddings. However, flowers can be consumed at in any gathering. And we've really had a lot of fun this year expanding to other gatherings. Primarily, though, we are in the wedding flower business.
Right. So this has been going on since when? When did you get the idea for this and when did it get started?
With 50 Flowers. Well, first off, 50 Flowers started as 50 Roses.
Right.
And it's named 50 Flowers because roses come in bunches of 25. And when you put a bunch of roses, like, here's the head of the roses and 25 in a box, and then you strap that in and, you give it to an overnight shipper, then it'll it's not balanced. So 2 bunches, 50 roses, make a perfectly balanced box. So your flowers are beautifully packed and they arrive to you so that you can create your dreams. Okay, and that's where the name came from.
Right. And but where did the idea come from?
Yeah, the idea came from, which is, I know, I have moments, right? The idea came from, I was in Peace Corps in Ecuador and fell in love with the country, fell in love with the people, the culture, and got a job in the flower industry. It was actually in accounting and shipping, if you can believe that, running an accounting department in a different culture. Numbers are numbers, right? Different culture, different language. And about 4 months in, I was like, you know what? I want to go over to the flower side. It's fun to learn all the operations and, how to pay the bills and tell people how to pay the bills. But I really wanted to get into the flower side. And, I worked with several different farms, both in Ecuador, then Ecuador and Colombia, and then a conglomerate that had Ecuador, Colombia, Holland, all over the world. And, woke up one day and said, all of these beautiful blooms that I see and I get to see, I want to bring it to the world and I want to bring it to consumers. So I started off with my first business, which is, we sell wholesale flowers we import flowers all over the world. I have clients currently in Guam, Italy, Russia, Kuwait, all over the world, primarily though here in the United States, and some incredible event designers. And as I was working in this business, that's when the internet started. And I had this dream to put in 50 flowers to sell direct to the consumer and get all the unique varieties that they're in the fields, and brides needed, they needed the inspiration and the availability to buy these flowers. So, and believe it or not, this was, oh gracious, this is going to make me sound old, but here we go. This was 23 years ago. I started on Netscape. And you can go back to Wayback Machine and look at the first 50 flowers. And
Yeah.
it'll hurt your eyes. But at that time, that was so cutting edge.
Yeah.
And within the flower industry, 50 flowers trailblazed the way people shop for flowers today.
Yeah. Oh, that was when I first met you and I heard the idea. I was like, wait a second, it's not a dozen roses, it's 50 roses. And I was like, okay, different. This is different. Why? Who wants this? Right. That's what we're thinking there. So when you came up with the idea of 50 flowers and you're going to send 50 flowers, the bundles gave you the numbers, right? Because you don't have to repack them and then they're already coming that way. But so first you said it was business to business. So who were you selling to?
First, that was Farm Exports.
Okay.
And Farm Exports is my business to business company, which I still sell flowers around the world.
Okay.
And the whole birthing process of 50 flowers and really finding our target niche, which is bridal industry. I started off thinking, luxury goods. You buy a car, you buy a house, this could be a gift. And, getting 50 roses in a box and delivered to somebody who just, made their first housing purchase will, leave a mark and bring in beautiful emotions into their new home. And quickly I met Richard Markel, at AFWPI. I think that's the acronym. And Association for, yeah. And got swooped up into, this is the perfect platform for your wedding and doing your own wedding flowers.
Right. So 23 years ago, when did you start selling direct to consumer?
23 years ago.
Right
on
away.
The internet. Yeah.
on the internet.
On the
with
internet.
Netscape. With Netscape. Yeah. Again, I call it BI, before the internet and after the internet.
That's right. I heard you say that. I like that. The BI. Yes.
BI. And when I talk about, when I started in the industry, I am a digital native. I'm sorry, I'm a digital immigrant. We're dealing with digital natives now, but I'm a digital immigrant, which doesn't mean I don't like technology. It just means it wasn't there. Right. Just like the website back then looked cutting edge. You go look at it now and like you said, you'll cringe. But that was what we had to work with. And you were making the most of what you had to work with. Just like I had a phone in my car, didn't come out. There was a phone in my car. And
exactly.
And I didn't have a signal where I lived. I only had a signal where I worked. Right. So
do you remember the phones we would carry around with us?
Oh, the bag phones?
In the bag? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mine was, it was that way. It could either be in the car or I could take it, but I never took it out because, I was just driving around all day, knocking on doors, trying to sell wedding advertising. Yeah. That was what I was doing. So go with the evolution. So what was the first thing that you were selling directly to consumer? Was it just bundles of 50 flowers?
Flowers exactly the way that a florist receives them. Mm-hmm. We were shipping them to the consumer. And it was a really novelty idea from, getting down to the grower side, right? Because growers, it's bulk. It is, they want to put 300, roses in a box. Mm-hmm. They don't want, and they didn't have the mindset of, no, let's put 50. Let's just put 2 bundles of 25. And it's mesmerizing the amount of people that said, no, 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 no. The doors I had to knock on to actually get a grower to believe in the concept.
Right. And this is the entrepreneurial challenge, right? Is people don't have your vision. You have the vision. You're messing up their daily life, right? I want to put 300 in. This is what I want to do, but you persist. And there's the difference, right? Between people that succeed and people that don't, is that persistence, that believing in the idea that this is going to work. I don't think anybody goes into something saying, oh, no, this is never going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Oh yeah.
we're
And if
blind.
if you want to read a great book about Jim Collins, Good to Great, it's the
Good.
hedgehog concept.
Yeah. Good to great, built to last. Love the two books over there. A good friend of mine said, success is an unintended consequence sometimes, right?
Hmm.
Because you're getting a success, not the one that you planned. Like when you planned to do this, you were business to business, and all of a sudden you're business to consumer. There's a success you didn't plan on. Failure is just an unintended consequence,
Yeah.
right? It just didn't work out. But we always look back, if I only knew then what I know now. No, if I knew then what I know now, I might not have done it.
Hmm.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And to add to that, failure is also a great learning opportunity.
Right. We have to embrace the failures, because we were talking offline before I started the recording. Failure means you tried.
Hmm.
That's what it means. Failure means you tried. It didn't work out the way you wanted to, but you tried. That's why success is often an unintended consequence, where you didn't get the result you were looking for, but you got something else, and that works better.
Absolutely.
Kind of like I was showing
Absolutely.
you some of my whiskey blends. I had this
Yes.
one, I just couldn't get it right, Lisa. There was just everything that I did to it. It was like almost there, like you're
So
almost there.
frustrating. Hmm.
I'm tasting it. And that day, a friend of mine sent me a bottle that was too sweet for him. It was Traverse City Cherry. Traverse City is the cherry capital of the world. It was a cherry infused bourbon. And my friend Jason sends me this bottle, and he said, "You know what? It's too sweet for me. Maybe you can do something with it." And I had this gallon jar with all these different whiskeys, like a frat party, all these different whiskeys that were together with different woods. It was just not quite right. And I said to my wife, "You know what do I have to lose?" And I just dumped it in there, stirred it around a little bit, let it sit. And then I took a sip and I said, wow,
Yeah.
not only did it take it from not quite there, it took it to beyond that. And
Wow.
everybody who had tasted that one, of course, that blend is gone. I think that bottle I showed you is the last one. Everybody who tasted it, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, yeah, but 2 weeks ago, I couldn't get it right. And then
Hmm.
this thing showed up, and I said, well, let's just put that in there. And that's, this is our little blend, but that's life, right? That's your
It's
business blend.
life.
I'm
Yeah.
going to try something. So talk about the different things that you're doing now besides just bundles of 50 flowers. You were telling me that you have this ready to go things for like
Yes. And
elopements.
as consumers, habits have adapted, and it's normal to order flowers over the internet. We've adapted, our product line. One is we have ready to go products. And I love that you named it ready to go, because that's what we named it. And, they are basically centerpieces that you just pull out, plop, cut, drop. And we have these curated, professional designed kits that have the bridal bouquet. It will have your table centerpieces that are just, they're very beautiful and designed. And, we have this huge design center down in La Sabana de Bogota, where, we have tables set up that, as the orders come in, they are made per order and simply stunning. Several of them we have created 100%. They've got the Liza touch to them. And, it's all in the current palettes. Another thing that we're doing is, people are they're shopping by collections and making it easier to look at, this is the look I want to make.
Okay.
You take and you say, I want roses. I want to put some ranunculus in there. I also want to put some anemones in there. So we've taken the past couple of years of, testimonials, and we've created collections around them. And these collections have, do-it-yourself flower kits, and they come in all different sizes. We have, the centerpieces that go along with them. We have a special wedding kit. And let me take a step back. When you enter the 50 Flowers wedding shopping experience, you're going to choose, do you want level 1, 2, or 3? 1 is done for you. And these are these 100% curated collections that are designed. Then the 2 is, you know what? I kind of want to be I kind of want to do my own wedding flowers, but I need, just guide me a little bit more. And this is where our collections come in. And then we have the, I'm a DIY renegade, and I'm going to just create it from scratch. So these are the three different levels. And going back to the second level, we have this brand, it's not brand new, but it is a fun concept. And they are our flower bouquet bars.
Mm.
So if you're having a wedding flower shower and you want to have something fun to do, well, within the collection of your wedding, let's just say that you're going to go in, our most popular is sugar plum, and you're going to have sugar plum flower collection at your wedding, and you're a little apprehensive on how does this all work, you can order the bouquet bar. You'll have them at your shower, play around with the flowers, play around with people, and then that just eases you into and helps you gain the experience of doing your own wedding flowers.
Which I've always thought about that when somebody decides to do DIY, you know, everything that looks easy took a lot of work, right?
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Like creating the collections is from using that history and using that experience, but somebody doing this for the first time doesn't have that experience. So I always wonder about, a couple and their wedding party or their family and friends just sitting there trying to figure this out right before. But that's a great way to do it, is do it at the shower, because now you get your feet wet, and now it's not the first time that you're doing it, not the first time you're cutting and arranging and doing all those things, and water
sure.
and vases and oasis and all those things, and
those fun,
all those fun things over there.
All those, I mean, and it's cantankerous, and it can go wrong really quickly. And we, at 50 Flowers, we've really embraced that. For our first 20 years, I always said farm to doorstep. And now we're really moving in and embracing the farm to arms and using all of our experience of failure, reflecting back on failure, of how can we help you create your, be successful in, creating this experience of doing your own wedding flowers. It is not easy, and from day one, I remember when we boomed, it was 2008, when everybody was, we had the crash and everybody wanted to get married. They wanted to have flowers, and affordability leaned in. It was all about budget. Which has shifted. It's not necessarily budget right now.
Right.
And at that moment, it was me, myself, and I still had part of my team in Ecuador, but when it came to customer service, which is my baby, because your customers are everything. And I would be talking people off the ledge of like, no, you really should not do your own wedding flowers. And I remember fellow entrepreneurs going, you are crazy. Like, just seal the deal. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. I want people to have the most amazing flower experience and know your limits.
Right. Yeah. Again, things that look easy took work. So, you were another example of it takes 20 years to become an overnight success, right? But I love I don't know if people caught this, what you said about the collections is that you went back and you looked to see what people had been ordering and putting together. And that's how you made the collections. And I was just working on a presentation I'm going to be giving in the UK, actually in Ireland, about pricing. And I talk about a la carte versus packages. Mm-hmm. And people that say they can't have packages, they say, okay, well, what do people typically order together anyway?
Sure.
And then just make it fewer choices, because we create decision paralysis when we give them too many choices.
Amen.
And let's face it, if you start with every possible flower choice, right, it's too many choices. Yes. Right? Too many choices. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with anything in life. If you haven't read the book, The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz, great book.
Great book.
And they talk about how, they put 6 jelly and jam samples out in a supermarket for people to taste. They measured how many got sold. They put 20 out, measured how many got sold. More got sold when there were only 6 flavors than when there were 20.
Yes.
Right. I noticed something with COVID is restaurants cut their menus down, which I appreciate, because you open up a menu. I live in New Jersey, the land of the diner, right? You open up the menu and there's just way too many choices.
Yes.
And I'd rather go to a Five Guys or a KFC or something like that, where it's like, you know what you're good at? Just do that. That's it. right? I used to go to McDonald's. I can only get a Diet Coke now because I'm gluten sensitive. So there's nothing I can eat there. They don't have a salad anymore. They don't have a grilled chicken anymore. I can go to Chick-fil-A because they have grilled nuggets. I can go, they have a gluten-free bun. They have stuff for me. But again, I don't go to Chick-fil-A for a burger because there aren't any, right? They know what they're
Yes.
good at.
Yes.
So if we cut this down and say, we know what we're good at, but you're expanding that line. You also said something about, because we're talking about my son, something for elopements, right? So what are you doing for
Yes.
elopements?
We have an elopement package, which is that curated product that is just your bridal bouquet, a boutonniere, and an officiant boutonniere,
Okay.
all affordably packaged. You know, it is very important for me because I am passionate about our flower industry, and I am passionate about keeping our brick and mortar stores open and our florists, because there is a time and a place for a florist.
Right.
However, if you're having an elopement, say where your mom and dad live, and you don't know a florist, this is a perfect idea.
Right.
You know, it is the perfect solution for the making sure that your flowers are part of your memory, because flowers bring joy.
Right. Well, and again, if you think about keeping the stores open, I think about Home Depot and Lowe's, right, and Ace and all of those. I'm a DIY guy. I have the skills, I have the tools, I have all the things. There are a lot of people that watch the TV shows and like, hey, I can do that, right? Again, not realizing what you need and all those types of things. I look at it now. I have had contractors in my home, right, but those are things that I'm not going to do. And then I have where my wife comes up with an idea. The secret code in our house, my wife says, you know what I was thinking? And I said, are you thinking Home Depot or Lowe's? Because you're thinking I'm going to one of those two. But again, I've also had contractors in my house because like, you know what? I'm not replacing my front door and the side light. I would need help with that. I think I could do it, but it's a little too important, kind of faces the street, you know.
Exactly.
Don't want it to leak.
You want to make sure it's level because you want it to shut properly.
I really think I could do that, right? And then there was another one that involved getting on a ladder about 18 feet up. And my wife is like, no. I said, I've been on ladders, you know, my entire life. She goes, yes, but you fall off that ladder, we don't make any income. So we're going to pay somebody to do that. And we did, right? So there's a place here for this. Like you said, there's a place for the retail florist. I have a florist. She actually retired. I'm so sad. I have to find somebody else because I could just text her and say, hey, Georgianne, if you're listening, thank you, Georgianne. But hey, Georgianne, you know, I need this, I need that. I'm in the doghouse right now. I need you to send something. And I liked having that there as opposed to going online to whatever, one of the places.
Absolutely.
Having the person, the credit card's on file, they know what I like. And if I say, listen, need some stargazer lilies, because that's our flower, right? Because flowers are people, flowers are memories. Great story. I don't know if I've told it on here, but my wife's bouquet at our wedding, stargazer lily was not the only thing, but there were stargazer lilies in it. So when I get flowers for her, sometimes I just buy her flowers. I might be in a store, might be the supermarket. It's like, you know what? Yeah, she could use that today, right? I might do that. And then other times,
more often, Alan, buy her flowers more often.
But there are other times where I want it to mean something special. So maybe for an anniversary, and I'll say, okay, I need a bouquet, or I need a centerpiece. It's something, but I need it to have stargazer lilies in it, right? I needed to have that. Well, my son must have heard this because at one point he was going out for a fancy dinner. I think it was an anniversary with a girlfriend, a few years. And my wife said, send a picture, because she knew they're getting all dressed up and going out fancy, and sends a picture. And his girlfriend is holding a bouquet of stargazer lilies. Right?
It's so beautiful.
Right. But that's, again, the flowers are like food. It's like music, right? There's connection to that. Like I was telling with the whiskeys over here, he heard that, right? I never said to him, you know, you need to do that. He heard that. It's like, okay, that's a special flower. That's a family special flower, right? That's beautiful. Something there. But that's where this is. So what's next? What's next for 50 Flowers?
Oh, we are growing. And as our team is growing, and we're growing in product line. In fact, going back to, you know, decision and too many flowers on our website, when, you know, back in the dinosaurs age, it was build as many flowers, put every flower possible on. It didn't matter. There was
Mhm.
not decision fatigue in like that concept was so foreign.
Right.
And right now, our new product merchandiser, who is this brilliant young man, he is like, yeah, I'm cleaning up our catalog. We're going to cut 60% of it off. It doesn't matter about SEO. Like we don't, back in, 20 years ago, that's how you got ranked. You just had
Right.
a whole bunch. The more you had, the better. Now
Right.
it's just be more intentional.
Yeah.
And, what's next with 50 Flowers is we are focused on being intentional and really engaging with our clients and creating more of a community. And, it's interesting as well. A phase we're going through is we don't buy your purchase. We have a very long life cycle, and we have our clients, they're on our website a lot. And we're all over our analytics right now. In fact, I just signed on with an AI platform that is going to help us interpret our analytics even more. It's exciting. We're the small fish in the pond. They take on $100 million clients, and we're like, okay, would you please? And they actually took us on. So I'm very excited about this.
What
Um,
about are you using AI on the front end?
We do use AI quite
Okay.
a bit.
Okay.
It is not to create. In fact, there is not one picture that is not we have not taken ourselves
Mhm.
in our production studio or at our farms.
No, I meant more like on the decision process. Somebody comes in and can they talk to the site? Because I'm just getting into more of using AI now with my content, right? And that's the same thing here.
Sure.
Is not um, learning to talk to it better. I went to a speaker conference and I went to a couple of sessions on AI. And this one guy said, "Who do you think is better at getting good results from AI? People in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and so forth." And it's people over 45.
Hmm.
And it's because we give it better instructions. We
Hmm.
give it more detailed instructions. So just wondering, on the front end, somebody comes in and, can they just talk to it and say, "Hey, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. These are my colors that I like. What do you suggest?" To me, that seems like the next step, right?
The next step. It's interesting. I am a thought leader in AI. In fact, I give speeches and I help people ease into the use of AI.
Yeah.
And it is something I'm passionate about. And we could talk about ChatGPT forever. And I could tell you what I'm doing with it because I no longer have to spend hours planning a menu and shopping for it. It's just hit a button or
Yeah.
talk to, my household ChatGPT. However, I there it's we are going at AI very cautiously, just like we did with social media when it was first introduced.
Mhm.
And we're using it currently right now. I'm under an audit with a company who is going through, and we like to call it opening up all the hoods and looking at every single one of our processes and see how and where we will introduce AI. As far as the human connection and with customers, I'm very trepidatious because our customers are everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I do a presentation. Where's the friction in your sales process? And I started out by just telling examples from my life, and one of them is all these AI chatbots that can't answer my question. Like I've already looked, and it didn't answer me, and now I'm talking to your AI, which is just using the same data that I already found. That's
yeah,
not answering my question. Now
oh,
you're
it's so
frustrated me
annoying.
even more, right? Frustrating me. So just let me just talk to a person, and in 2 minutes I can get this answered.
Hmm.
Um, but then the other side of it, and I'm going to do a podcast about this. My son who's getting married, they were looking for some rental items, a dance floor and some other
Yes.
things. So with my connections, I got some connections. So my future daughter-in-law reached out to this one company, and she doesn't know what she needs because she's never done this before.
Sure.
And I gave her this company to go to who was referred to me. She reaches out to them and she's emailing. And she said, "Oh, can I talk to somebody to see about what I need?" And they said, "Well, just go to the website, look at the catalog, and tell us what you want, and we'll give you a quote." And she said, "Can I talk to someone?" And they said no. Now, boggles my mind. If I had hair, I'd pull it out. I mean, it's just crazy that in a world where my clients always say to me, if I could only get them on the phone, if I could only talk to them on Zoom, if I could only, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And here is somebody who wanted to get on the phone, and the company's like,
Yes.
no, no, you
No.
can't talk to somebody.
It's really interesting when, as business owners, the answer is right there. And you can, the people on the front line, they know that one way that we're using AI, and it pertains to what we're talking about here, we have 5 common questions.
Okay.
How many stems come in a bunch? That is over and over and over again. And yes, does it start off with a bot answering these 5 questions? Yes, but then it will instantly connect you with the personal touch.
Which is the thing, and that's where I've had the most frustration lately, is if your bot can answer my question, cool,
yeah,
great. Because again, ChatGPT and some others, so I'm good with that. If it can't, give me the option of talking to a person.
And it's that important.
Hopefully
Alan, when you place an order with 50 flowers, a human looks at that order. Like I like to call them heartbeats, because, a human heartbeat looks at that order and makes sure that you've scheduled for the right delivery date for optimal blooming time. And we reach out to you via text. We've been texting with our clients for 12 years, forever. Yeah. And you have questions, a human answers them.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we could obviously talk forever, but we're going a little long for my normal podcast time. Okay. Here, so I'm going to put into the show notes anyway, but what's the best way for people to find out more about 50 Flowers?
You can shop us online. It's 50 flowers.com.
There we go. I'm going to put all that in the show notes. Liza, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Alan. Always a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wedding Business Solutions podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe to this channel and post a review on your chosen platform, Apple Podcasts or whichever one. If you have any questions about anything in this episode or any of my episodes, email me directly at alan@weddingbusinesssolutions.com or visit my website, alanberg.com, alanberg.com. If you have any suggestions for future topics or guests that you'd like to see, please again, email me or visit my website. Thanks for listening.